Hi Year 6. In this video I'm going to read to you the questions of today's comprehension Grandmother's Lament. So if it helps you to hear the questions read aloud, and sometimes I might try and explain them in different ways, then carry on and watching this video. So obviously the first thing you need to do is you need to complete your retrieve, your infer and your predict. And then we have 3 questions on the first page, which is down as guided work, but obviously you guys are going to be completing it independently today. If you've got any questions, make sure you message me and ask for some help. So the first question is, why has the author chosen to purposefully misspell some of the words in this poem? So you might want to go and watch the video where I read it out loud so you can hear what those words should sound like, and then have a little think, why were they spelled incorrectly in the first place? Number 2, what is the main reason as to why Granny thinks the children are good for nothing? And that's just 1 mark, so you need to try and summarise there. What is the main reason that Granny thinks the children are good for nothing? She gives lots of little reasons, but can you summarise the main reason? And then the third question is a 3 mark. It says, how is Granny made to seem unloved in the poem? Explain 2 ways, giving evidence from the text to support your answer. So it's a traditional 3 marker approach. So tell me 1 way that Granny seems unloved, and then give me some evidence from the text. And then tell me another way that Granny seems unloved, and give me evidence from the text. Point evidence, point evidence. And remember, the big tip is, don't make your point the same as your evidence. So let's make up a point. Let's say that, for example, 1 reason that she felt unloved is because they wouldn't take her on trips. That's not one of the reasons, but you wouldn't, and if it said in the text they wouldn't take her on trips, you wouldn't want to say that for both your point and your evidence. So you'd want to say she wasn't allowed to go anywhere, and I know this because in the text it said they wouldn't take her on trips. Okay, so try and make your point different to your evidence. So then we move on to the second page, so it's question 4 now. What would be an appropriate alternative title for this poem? So again, this is more summary work. You've listened to the full poem now. Can you give me an alternative title? So at the moment it's Grandma's Lament, and a lament is when someone's thinking about something, talking about hardship. I wonder if you can think of a good title that summarises the entire poem. Number 5 is, what does the Granny mean when she says, I'll be glad to get shot of this place? What does that phrase mean? I'll be glad to get shot of this place. If you're not sure, remember it's a use of figurative language. She doesn't literally mean that. It's a common idiom she's using, a common phrase. Have a look at it in the context of the poem and have a think, what maybe does she mean? Number 6 is, give 1 thing that children could do to make Granny feel more appreciated these days. So this is the Granny from the poem. Can you give 1 thing that would solve one of the problems from this poem? Number 7 is a quote to start off with. It says, I have to say, what's she saying? Because she sits there, little madam, and mumbles and mutters, and I can't understand a word, and she's moody. So it says, choose and copy down 2 words from this sentence which shows the little girl is sulky around her Granny. So just 2 words, 2 separate words, not necessarily 2 words that are next to each other. Okay, 2 words that show that the girl is sulky. Question 8 is, what is the main reason repeated in the poem as to why the children go and see their Granny? There's a reason that comes up a couple of times about a reason why they might go and see their Granny, even though while they're there, they're not particularly pleasant. See if you can find that in the text for 1 mark. We've got another 3 marker now for number 9. It says, the children do not seem guilty about not spending their time with their Granny. Find evidence to support this statement. So again, a Pepe answer. Point. Can you find 1 way that they don't seem guilty and give evidence in the text? Can you find another way and give evidence in the text? Number 10 says, has the Granny always been treated this way by her grandchildren? And this is a 2 marker. So for this one, you might explain why and give some evidence. So you say, yes, I think she has because of this, and in the text it says this. Yeah, it's a 2 marker. So make sure you're saying 2 things, either point and evidence or 2 separate points. Number 11 says, find and copy a word which means the same as fortunate. Fortunate. Someone who's fortunate is someone who's got good fortune, someone who is quite lucky. Okay, we're very fortunate to have these nice things. So when you're trying to find an alternative word for fortunate in the text, remember, when you think you found it, replace the word that you think it is with the word fortunate, and does it still make sense in the context of the sentence? Number 12, explain what the word lament means. Well, I actually said it a few questions ago, so you might want to go back and rewatch, or you might already know what lament means. I've given you a free answer there. And then number 13 says, what does the granny think the children see her as? Can you find one thing that the granny says that they see her as? Okay, so those are all of your questions for today's comprehension text.